So the coronavirus has impacted us in a couple of ways. Obviously, the biggest one is the impact on our customers. We've Imagine has a couple of businesses that we're in, but one of the primary businesses that we're in is the ad tech business. So we sell systems to broadcasters, to MVPDs, to networks that they use in order to sell their own ad inventory and then traffic that ad inventory and then do placements on that ad inventory. And of course, coronavirus has had a pretty big impact on what's going on in the advertising space. Across the board, we see our customers being very challenged with what's going on with their advertising revenue in Q2, and that's projected to last into Q3 and even for the rest of this year. So we feel the impact of that. We feel the impact of our customers seeing a general slowdown in their business in that area. But that really hasn't impacted the way that we're operating. During Q2 of this year, we've had about 150 projects that are ongoing with customers around the world. And only a handful of those, only about 5 of those have actually been impacted because of coronavirus. And in general, where those projects have been impacted, it's specifically because facilities have been closed or facilities are under a lockdown, and we're not able to get in there to do commissioning and setup and things like that. But the majority of our projects have continued on schedule. And the big reason for that is because we had a preparedness plan that we actually tested out before the coronavirus really started to move its way around the world. When we recognized that this could indeed be an impact on the business, we ran a couple of drills to make sure that our supply chain was working properly, to make sure that our developers had everything that they needed in order to be able to continue building products remotely, and that our support staff had access to customer systems and had the right security credentials and the right authentication in order to be able to continue doing work remotely, so that we can support our customers remotely. And because we were proactive about that, and because we tested these things out and made sure that everybody had the tools and the systems and the connectivity that they needed, we actually haven't seen a lot of impact on the business. Our projects throughout Latin America are moving along. We do work throughout all of Latin America. We do work in Mexico, throughout Central America. We've got a couple of big projects going on in Brazil and Argentina. And those projects are proceeding as planned. Those customers were ready for the coronavirus. They've done a good job of ensuring the health and the safety, not only of their own staff, but of our people as well, making sure that proper precautions are being taken. And of course, we've given our employees training about proper health procedures, because really that's been the focus for us, is keeping everyone safe, keeping everyone healthy, making sure that no one is put in a situation where there's undue risk. But on the other hand, we're trying to keep business moving forward, both for our customers and for ourselves. We're always looking for partners that we can work with, and especially at the regional level. A big piece of Imagine's business is done through systems integrators and resellers and distributors. And we find that that's a very effective go-to-market strategy for us. Some of our really close partners in Latin America are resellers and distributors. They're very familiar with the Imagine product line, but they're also very familiar with the customers and with the way that the businesses operate within those economies. And so we find that that's a very good strategic alliance for us to have in-country resellers and partners, and also having people who are on the ground in places like Sao Paulo and Rio and Buenos Aires, having partners who are right there with the customers, able to answer questions, able to solve problems, able to install new systems. It's a very effective way for us to do business, in particular in Latin America. And that's how it's affected us, right? So we had to put a plan in place in order to still be able to make announcements about new products and new partners, to be able to get new ideas out in front of customers, and really to be able to have the same kind of communication that we would have had in Las Vegas at NAB, or that we were hoping to have at IBC in Amsterdam, but to engage with those customers in a different way. And so the way that we've approached that is through what we're calling our spring symposium, and eventually that'll lead into a summer symposium, where Imagine has created webinars. Imagine has actually created material that can be viewed on demand by our customers around three big areas. Number one, we have these live webinars where we're bringing customers into the webinar, or we're bringing our product managers or our technical experts to the webinar to be able to talk to the entire customer base about some of the new innovations, the new ideas, the advancements that we're seeing in playout or in ad tech or in IP networking, really across the board, trying to introduce some of these great new ideas to the market. Another thing that we've been doing is having deep dives that are hosted by our experts. So talking about a specific topic like SMPTE 2110 networking, right? And how we're using that to create IP-based campus environments. Those deep dives let us get a little bit deeper into the technology, let us explain a little bit more about how Imagine is working on the new standards. And then we can have follow-ups with customers, right? We can schedule a call with a customer, do a Q&A, and make sure that we're having the right level of engagement. And then the last thing that we're working on is actually presenting case studies. So showing specific examples about problems that have been solved, and how Imagine or Imagine plus a group of partners have been able to bring a full solution into the market to address some of the challenges that customers are seeing, in particular in this environment. What's happened over the course of the last couple of months, I think, has really challenged people to think about some of the assumptions, some of the preconceptions, and some of the things that they didn't think they could do, either technically or commercially, or maybe they didn't think their staff had the flexibility. But I think a lot of those things have been proven to work, right? There are a lot of things that we're doing with customers around remote production, around cloud-based production and cloud-based origination. And in particular, some of the things that we're working on around advertising, where customers are just looking at doing things in a different way because they're forced to do things in a different way. They could not continue to conduct business as usual, and that forced a rapid period of innovation and reflection. And I think that there are a number of things that will never return to the way they used to be. We've done a couple of cloud-based playout projects during this period of COVID, where customers had concerns about disaster recovery. They were worried about the staff at their facility. They were worried about whether they were going to have to physically close a location. And so they started looking for alternatives. And it turns out that public cloud is a great alternative. Being able to run disaster recovery for channel playout out of Amazon, for example, solves that problem of not having physical access to the equipment and not having staff physically in the building. I think what we learned during COVID proves that those things are viable from a technical standpoint, and that there are commercial models that make that work as well. And I think the industry will continue to move forward there. On the advertising side, and I mentioned this earlier, we see some challenges for our customers just because of what's been going on around, the advertisers wanting to buy advertising. Demand is down for travel and leisure. Demand is down for entertainment. Demand is down even for automobiles. And what that has caused is our customers to look at different ways to sell their inventory and different ways to optimize that inventory. And that's another thing that we've been helping people prove out, that just because demand is down, it doesn't mean that revenue has to go down, or that yield has to go down, or that the number of placements that you can sell has gone down. What it means is you need a different optimization system. And so we have a product called Game Plan that we've been talking to customers about that actually lets them optimize their linear ad, ad inventory so that they don't see a decline in revenue, and so that they are positioned to take advantage of the recovery as soon as that starts to happen, and really start to get their ad revenues back on track. That wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for COVID. People would not have had the motivation to go and look for a new way to do things or a better way to do things. And so because of this, it has caused that examination, and it has caused some people to consider new ideas, and we think that's being quite effective.